Welcome back to Utah Stories. So we have on the program District 4 Council member Anna Valdemoros, and she's also a small business owner. We're talking about what's now described as the elephant in the room. We have a mental health crisis going on in Salt Lake County. We've had business owners on the program who've had serious problems with mentally ill people who are wandering the streets, doing all sorts of terrible things. Teresa Bowman from Midtown Salon, I've told this story many, many times. She had to move her salon to Trolley Square because of a series of public masturbators. The police were telling her to tell these people just to move on. Business owner after business owner feel accosted by the homeless. They're trying to get more services from their business. Do you feel like, Anna, that the business community is really at odds with the bureaucracy in effectively solving this problem so we don't lose all the businesses in downtown Salt Lake?
Right. So we've lost some businesses, it's true. Well, we have a lot of people staying. The majority are. There is no coincidence about why downtown Salt Lake City recovered faster than anybody else in the nation. Downtown Salt Lake City, if you saw the report. So
yeah, we've done better.
We've done better.
We did lose a lot of small businesses due to COVID, and now a lot of people. Also, the Southern Gallery, we reported on them. They moved off of Main Street because they didn't feel like the city was helping them.
Well, yes, and I think there's also new businesses moving in. So I feel like there's a balance here, and there's a lot of reasons why. But to your point, we did add a police officer. It's a business liaison with the help of the business community downtown. If you are an involved business in the downtown community with the Downtown Alliance, with the city, you know that steps are being taken to take care of this thing. So invested.
That business liaison talks to business owners, communicates to the chief or the police department. That's cool.
And can troubleshoot. So it's not that they're left alone. The Downtown Ambassadors is another group that we invest millions and millions every year. Now they're actually cleaning up as well. They're not just being a resource for tourists or the homeless people, giving them resources. They're also cleaning up. We're putting a substation on on First South and Regent Street. It's very close to being open. So you'll see a lot of more police activity in that area to
a little
deter.
Mini police station.
In a corner there by the Eccles Theater. And, you'll see a lot more police presence.
But what about the mental health crisis?
Right, but going back to the mental health crisis. So as we talked earlier, the county stepping up. And this is the drum that we beat every legislative session. Help us out here. It's not just housing. It's not just public safety. It's a mental health crisis, and we don't have anywhere to go. So, as Sim Gill said, we're working really hard on putting together that Miami model, which judges decide or have more power to decide on what's happening with an individual that has been in the system over and over, but is not necessarily a criminal. It's most likely a mentally ill person that is abusing drugs and other things, and giving them those choices. Hey, here's rehab for sure, or jail, or a mental health institution if we had that. But, and give them more resources that way. That way our police officers are more empowered, and our cities, the municipality is more empowered.
So the model is a judge looks at the criminal or the mentally ill patient's background and then decides, are you going to a mental hospital? Are you going to jail? Are you going to rehab?
These are your options.
Do we have the mental hospital capacity? Sim Gill said we don't. We have 300 beds for the entire state of Utah.
Right, exactly.
So how do we expand that capacity?
This is why we go every legislature session, the municipalities, the leagues of cities and towns, including Salt Lake City, and go lobby our state reps and be like, these are the issues that we're dealing with. These are the issues that you're leaving municipalities to deal with, and we don't have the funds. Help us. You do it. Help us help you. You do it. Or give the power to the municipalities and the funds. We'll take care of it happily. Happily. But help us out here, because right now the ball is on your court.
And it's extremely expensive to open a mental hospital.
Right.
The Huntsman mental health facility in Red Butte, and then there's one opening in South Salt Lake. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
And that's going online when?
Hopefully in a year or two. That's a county. That's a county one. So,
but it's still way short of what we need.
Right.
So, is there anything in the short term that if they are mentally ill, they can somehow get that longer term treatment that's so required?
So that's why we have permanent supportive housing. In different parts of Salt Lake City and hopefully in other towns. But we do permanent supportive housing and First Step House, for example. They deal with people that cannot live alone. Like they need the support, the daily support for their medication, for their therapy, for the follow-up, in a controlled area, if you will. And so we're always investing in groups like First Step House, so that they can do the permanent supportive housing.
And I think First Step House has done a pretty decent job, but looking at the facilities run by the Road Home, the Magnolia, Palmer Court, Wendell, and Grace Mary Manor, they're all really, the only word I can use is failures, because those people are dying at a huge rate. Magnolia, the manager there, told me 15 people died in the last year. I confirmed 8 had died of drug overdose. Grace Mary Manor, same thing. Rena Rogers runs Mental Health of America. She said they were pulling bodies out of there all the time because those people aren't getting the supports they need. Right. So what do you do to beef up that mental health side of things?
This is like a statewide effort, like meaning every elected official, every person, every social worker, every nonprofit really beating that drum. Because with the Magnolia, what happened is the city needed permanent supportive housing, and we gave them, so the way we could contribute for this type of housing was with the land. So we partnered up with the Road Home, the state, I think this is before my time, but and Unsheltered, and we said, look, this is how we're going to contribute. So now you do your parts that are beyond the Salt Lake City, responsibility. And, this is how we're going to make it happen. And then we have failures. So then, and then they would say, well, we don't have enough funding. Okay, well, let's go and beat that drum together for your funding. And so these are the things that need to be talked more and more loudly by more than just the council in Salt Lake City. It has to be, that's okay. It has to be, has to be an effort from the media, from everyone to say, let's talk about mental illness and drug abuse.
Yeah,
we can. I feel pretty strongly that our numbers. So the big picture in Utah, are numbers that are in a way lower than the rest of cities that are in the same, the same size of us or whatever. And I feel like this is a very wealthy state. Yeah. And we could potentially make a huge dent, if not lead in the nation. This is something that Senator Romney, Senator Lee, and the other 4 reps in Washington, D.C. hear from me every March. We can lead if you help us also from up here in D.C. We can live in the nation.
Yeah. And it seems like on a national level that they help a lot with like housing and urban development. We had on Paul Webster, who worked directly under Ben Carson. They provide tons of money to permanent supportive housing. A lot of money comes from that federal program. But what they don't provide are the wraparound services. Right. And so the failure is that nobody's getting treatment. Nobody's getting what they need to actually get on the path of recovery. Right. And then there's actually a disincentive built in to get on the path of recovery, because if you get a job, you show you're an able-bodied citizen, you can get kicked out of your housing.
Exactly.
And that's just ridiculous.
And we don't make up those rules. That's the tragedy.
Yeah, and that's housing and urban development's mandates. They mandate that the program be run that way.
Right. So
I got a email from a contributor that Donald Trump said on the campaign trail in Ohio, he wants to get all the mentally ill people off the streets into hospitals. And he didn't like Donald Trump, so he didn't like. But I as much as you can shoot the messenger, do you like that message?
I like the message of the wraparound services. I like the message of let's review or let's revisit what happened, 40 years ago and what was not working in that system, and what technology has given us this past 40 years, and new mental health studies and research. Let's see what else can we do for our population right now. and see if it's a possibility to help them, get through a dignified life, even if it's permanent supportive housing. But let's, with a lot of people to help them every day. But let's find a way that it's a dignified life for them. Like, I see them walking outside downtown all the time, and you can tell. You need to be a doctor to tell that this person is suffering from mental illness, and what's going to happen to that person, tonight when they say no to the shelter. I've asked several people, like, I have a small business, and I see people outside, and I'm like, can I take you to a shelter? And most oftentimes they say no, and that's a right that they have to say no by law. And so obviously there's something off here. Why would you say no to a shelter, instead of being out here?
Yeah.
So
the last point I want to bring up
food for
is
thought.
Rocky Anderson was on this program saying that the city council are a bunch of sycophants to the mayor's agendas. There's not enough debate and pushback against her policies. You describe how the sanctioned campground finally got passed in the city council. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. That was something that the mayor had opposed for a long time, and we've talked to her about it for a couple of years now, because we're listening and seeing what's happening. And she doesn't live in my district. So she works in my district, but she doesn't live in my district. She doesn't live in District 1 or District 2. And we see things, and the neighbors see things every day. And so, she was very hesitant about talking about it. It wasn't on the table, but it wasn't until myself and Councilmember Petro, Councilmember Pui had to go to Denver for a conference unrelated to homelessness, but we decided to go visit the Safe Outdoor Space. This was actually in May, and those services that they have in Denver. And my mind was blown. I'm like, this is possible. Salt Lake City does not have to reinvent the wheel, if that was the fear of Mayor Mendenhall and why she didn't want to do it. It's safe. It provides a dignified way of living to people that are unsheltered, that are drug addicts, that need a moment of a breathing room to figure out what's going on with their life and where is the next step. In a place where they can keep their things, they are not shoveled around, where they can sleep at night, where they don't have predators around, right?
So she was fine with the abatement policies and the way the status quo, and you kind of convinced her,
correct.
No, we need it.
We need this. I mean, we understand the abatements as, a way to keep them, also people like safe, because of the vulnerabilities that could be both hygienic and also, drug dealers, etc. But it was for us to say, hey, we need to provide one more solution for this problem that we have, and we're going to put this money in the budget this year. And this was last minute. This is May, June. We vote in the budgets in July, so we're going to convince one more council member, if not all of them, and we're going to talk about it. And then you're going to have the money, and then you execute. You're in charge of executing. If not, you can explain to the public why the council wants this and gave you the tools to do it, and you didn't.
Because the worst thing I hear on the streets is we have nowhere to go from the homeless.
Right.
That is completely inhumane. To say you got to leave here. Well, where do I go? I don't know.
Right.
Just get out of here. Right. That's not humane. And I can't believe the mayor was unable to see that.
Right.
And that you had to fight so hard to get that.
Right.
So you got $500,000
Yeah, it was in the budget for it, and we found the land, Salt Lake City RDA property.
So you guys did that. We're
like, these are the things
to set the record straight.
Right, but until she she saw it. Obviously, it wasn't in public because as you she said, there are some hard conversations that are to be had, and she realized that she had to do it because it was the right thing to do at the end of the day.
2 years prior to that, you passed the moratorium, no homeless resources in Salt Lake City.
Right.
And that's where all the homeless resources are. So it's really kind of not nice to do that.
Well, it's not. So what we said is the expansion of the resources or new resource centers.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we're going to kick everybody out that is here. Yeah. We're saying the King Resource Center had a lot of issues outside, and it was
Yeah, it was
badly
horrible.
managed, including
Yeah.
the one in Ballpark.
Yeah, that
And
one's
we didn't
VOA.
and we didn't have enough funding to mitigate. The neighbors are freaking out, rightly so. And that's why we said, hey, VOA and every other nonprofit that is running this type of business, you're not really doing what you're supposed to do. So we are going to put a pause. So don't come to us with an expansion or new ones, because you are not taking care of what's happening right now. So how do you think, you're going to be able to take care of a new one?
Yeah.
You know?
Do you guys have any power over the management of these resource centers? Because it just seems like, especially Gerald E. King, all these mentally ill ladies are outside.
Right.
Who've either been kicked out or been asked to just be outside.
We don't have, so we used their conditional uses, and we have several conditions for them to comply, and then we could revoke, if they don't comply, we could revoke their conditional use and their operations, so to say, hey, you're no longer allowed to do this here. But is that compassionate? Like, we're running to, like, are we going to kick 200 people out? Because, so we have to find a balance. And we found it as soon as the state mandated that we increase 50 beds in the King Resource Center during the winter. We said,
The state
mandated that. And we said, this is very unfortunate and very unfair, because when you guys decided to get rid of the road home by Pioneer Park,
the state
decided that you promised us and every neighborhood that only 200 people or 150 people were going to be living within the neighborhoods, and everything was going to be perfect. And it's not. And now you're asking us to tell our constituents that even more people will be moving in, which it's the compassionate thing to do, but at the same time, you need to help us, because what's happening outside, it's not fair for unsheltered and sheltered alike. And we were able to get millions of dollars in mitigation funds to put officers within the shelter and outside to make sure that the predators are not there, that people are staying inside or staying safe.
And that has made
a difference. Go walk, the King Resource Center today is night and day.
Yeah.
So, that's how the sausage gets made, as a council member when you talk to the state legislature. And this is why we have such good relationships right now with the state.
Yeah. So that was basically a stopgap for when you guys felt overwhelmed with with your constituents about the homeless situation. You said moratorium, we're not building anything new, to get the state to act.
Right. And give us 6 months to breathing room to everybody.
Yeah, I guess you call that the sausage making.
Yeah, that's because
it looks really uncompassionate, because there's so many homeless people everywhere,
right.
And they just told that you have nowhere to go,
right.
And we're not going to, like the movie night was a reaction to that moratorium,
right.
And that was an unsanctioned space.
Right.
The Fort Pioneer and then the Camp Last Hope were reactions to not having enough space because the shelter was torn down.
Right. Correct.
That was just so stupid.
Right.
You had 1,000 beds, you tore it down.
And you did 600 beds, so you had 400 people left out, and then plus all the people that became homeless, since the pandemic or since then. So come on, you can't think the municipalities, can solve everything alone. We're spending every last cent that we have in our budget in interventions, in helping in every way we can, but we need more.
Yeah.
And the public asks us for more, and that's what we fight for every day. And that's building bridges with us, the senators and the legislators. That's countless meetings, conferences with other cities in the state. Now other it's mandated as well that other counties have to have a winter plan.
Well, good.
That did not happen before. That was
Sandy's got there.
4 years ago. People would tell me, this is a Salt Lake City issue. This is your problem, Anna. This is downtown. This is your liberal city issues, And this, unfortunately, stems from a mayor that was abrasive 20 years ago, or maybe a little bit less than that was very abrasive. And we're now paying the consequences of that. And we're mending relationships, and we're doing it really well. And, we're doing everything we can to keep our city safe, to keep our people housed, and also to encourage other cities in the state to do their part to help their unsheltered neighbors.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's a tough job. Well,
It's a tough job.
good luck to
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah.
thank you for coming
Of
on. How do
course.
people support your campaign?
Visit ANA4council.com. So ANA for the number 4 council.com. When you get your ballot, rank me number 1. I'm here, to help you, to help my constituency, to make our city better and my district better, and a place for everybody to live, work, and play. And so I want your vote. I know how to make it happen. I am the most experienced, and my track record shows it. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
very, very important election, and I think everybody should just learn about the candidates, learn about the issues, go out and vote. This is the sphere of influence where you can make a difference. That's what we're talking about tomorrow night at Broovies, and our panel of guests are going to be addressing just homelessness and the solutions to homelessness. And we have a documentary film premiere with Michael Jukes is the director, called Consider, of Voices of the Unsheltered. And it's the amazing ideas that the unsheltered community have to solving that problem. And there's just this gap between what policymakers do, especially the mayor's abatement policies, and what the unsheltered say they actually need. There's this gap where one side is not listening to the other, so we're presenting their voices and their ideas into solving these problems. And I invite you to come. It would be awesome if you could come.
If I could come, I
Yeah.
think I have a schedule. But yes, and just last thing, we work with the unsheltered nonprofits a lot, and we listen to them and we talk to them. And this is their idea, the safe outdoor space
Yeah,
as
they
well.
love that idea.
And
not
and
every
we
one of
made it
them.
happen. I made it
Yeah.
happen. And so, this is why I'm asking for the voter support. Come up with ideas. I can help you lead it, and we can make our city better.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share. All of that stuff is great. And if you would like to get the Voice of Local Utah delivered right to your home, we've also got it available for subscribers and members. Members receive tickets to our screenings that we're going to be doing, screenings and panel discussions, which we're going to be doing every month and or every quarter. Go check that out at utahstories.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.